The Galactic Council chamber buzzes with alien chatter as humanity presents their first warship designs. Ambassador Riley stands before hundreds of species, each more advanced than Earth's fledgling civilization. The holographic display shows humanity's crude vessels, bulky, angular ships that look like flying bricks compared to the sleek alien craft. The Vorthan representative, a tall blue-skinned being named Kane, laughs openly. These primitive designs are centuries behind our technology, he declares. The crystalline Nexari delegation clicks in amusement, their translators conveying their mockery. Even the peaceful Alari shake their heads in disappointment. Captain Blake, Earth's military advisor, watches silently as his life's work becomes a joke. The ships humanity built were simple: thick armor plating, redundant systems, and weapons that fired solid projectiles instead of elegant energy beams. Alien ships relied on shields and speed. Human vessels were slow, heavy, and built like tanks. "Your weapons are barbaric," sneers Commander Vex of the Hegemony Fleet. "Kinetic rounds? Chemical explosives? We mastered energy weapons millennia ago." The chamber erupts in more laughter. Riley tries to explain humanity's philosophy. "Our ships are built to survive, to keep fighting when everything goes wrong." But his words fall on deaf ears. The Council votes to restrict human expansion, deeming their technology too primitive for deep space colonization. As the session ends, various alien diplomats approach with condescending offers of proper technology. The Nexari promise to sell humanity real weapons. The Vorthans suggest hiring human crews for their advanced ships instead. Everyone assumes Earth will abandon their inferior designs, but Captain Blake notices something the aliens missed. During the presentation, while they laughed at human engineering, they never asked about the specifications. They never inquired about the armor thickness, the redundancy systems, or why humanity chose such unusual design principles. That night, Riley and Blake meet in private. "They think we're fools," Riley says. Blake nods grimly. "Let them think that sometimes the best weapon is being underestimated." Unknown to the Council, humanity had learned hard lessons during their brief civil wars. They built ships not for glory or elegance, but for one purpose: to keep fighting when everything else failed. Every human vessel could operate with half its systems destroyed. Every weapon was designed to function in the worst conditions imaginable. Meeting ends with humanity accepting observer status in the galaxy. They appear to bow to superior alien wisdom, but Blake and Riley exchange knowing looks. Earth's shipyards continue building their primitive warships. While the galaxy dismisses humanity as harmless newcomers, the stage is set for a rude awakening. Asterisk. 3 years pass peacefully until long-range sensors detect something impossible. Ships appear at the galaxy's edge, massive, dark vessels that don't match any known design. The first contact attempts result in silence, then destruction. The alien fleet that emerges calls itself the Devourers. Their technology surpasses even the most advanced Council races. Their ships phase through solid matter. Their weapons drain energy from shields and turn it against their targets. Worst of all, they adapt. Each battle makes them stronger as they copy and improve upon enemy technology. The Vorthan fleet encounters them first. Kane leads 50 of their finest vessels against 12 Devourer ships. The battle lasts 6 minutes. Vorthan energy weapons prove useless as the Devourers absorb the power and reflect it back tenfold. Their phase technology makes them nearly untouchable while they tear through Vorthan shields like paper. News of the massacre spanning through the Council. Emergency sessions convene as species after species reports devastating losses. The crystalline Nexari lose their entire outer defense grid in a single engagement. The proud hegemony watches helplessly as their fastest ships are caught and destroyed by Devourer vessels that somehow match their speed. Commander Vex, barely escaping with his life, reports the horrifying truth. They learn from every encounter. Each time we hit them, they become more resistant. Each weapon we use, they turn against us. The Elari, despite their peaceful nature, attempt diplomatic contact. The Devourers respond by consuming their entire colony world, leaving behind only lifeless rock. The message becomes clear. This enemy doesn't want territory or resources. They want complete annihilation of all galactic civilization. As panic spreads, attention turns to humanity. Earth's small observer fleet receives orders to evacuate to the galactic core, safely away from the advancing threat. Most alien species assume humans will flee like any reasonable species would. But Captain Blake, now promoted to Admiral, studies the battle reports with growing interest. While other species panic, he notices patterns the aliens missed. The Devourers are incredibly advanced, yes, but they have weaknesses. Their adaptation takes time. Their phase technology has limitations. Most importantly, they expect to face energy weapons and sophisticated technology. Admiral Blake calls an emergency meeting with his staff. Every engagement follows the same pattern, he explains. The enemy adapts to energy weapons, sophisticated targeting systems, and advanced shield technology. But look at what they haven't faced. His officers study the data. The Devourers have never encountered kinetic weapons, solid projectiles that can't be absorbed or redirected. They've never faced ships built to ram instead of dance. Most critically, they've never fought an enemy that expects to take massive damage and keep fighting. They adapt to sophistication, Blake realizes. But what if we give them the opposite? Meanwhile, the Council debates evacuation plans and surrender terms. Some species consider fleeing to other galaxies. Others discuss hiding in deep space until the threat passes. None consider fighting back, not after seeing the galaxy's finest fleets reduced to debris. Ambassador Riley receives frantic calls from alien diplomats, begging humanity to hide their primitive technology before the Devourers arrive. They fear that crude human weapons might anger the invaders unnecessarily, but Blake is already issuing new orders. Human shipyards shift to maximum production. Instead of building fewer, better ships, they focus on quantity. Simple, crude, mass-produced vessels that can be crewed by anyone and built quickly. The alien species who once mocked humanity's primitive designs now beg them to evacuate. Your technology is too primitive to matter, Kane pleads. Save yourselves while you still can. Riley's response puzzles the Council. Humanity appreciates your concern. We'll handle this in our own way. As Devourer fleets advance through the galaxy, consuming everything in their path, humanity makes an unexpected decision. Instead of running, they prepare to fight. Not with borrowed alien technology or sophisticated weapons, but with the same crude designs that made the galaxy laugh 3 years ago. The Devourers have never faced an enemy this primitive. They're about to learn why that might be a problem. The first human Devourer engagement happens by accident. A small human patrol, 3 ships crewed by barely 200 people, encounters a Devourer scout fleet near the disputed border zone. Standard protocol demands immediate retreat, but Commander Jack refuses to abandon the mining colony they're protecting. The Devourer ships are magnificent and terrifying. Their hulls shift and flow like liquid metal, phases of reality bending. Around them, energy crackles along their surfaces as they prepare weapons that have destroyed entire fleets. Jack's ships are ugly by comparison. The CNS Hammer, CNS Anvil, and CNS Forge, named after simple tools rather than heroes or concepts. Their hulls are thick, angular slabs of metal covered in redundant armor plating. No elegant curves or artistic flourishes, just functional brutality. The Devourers scan the human vessels and find them puzzling. No energy shields, no sophisticated targeting systems. Weapons that fire chunks of metal instead of coherent energy. The alien AI controlling the Devourer fleet categorizes humans as primitive threat level 0 and prepares standard absorption protocols. The battle begins predictably. Devourer energy weapons lance out, expecting to drain human shields and turn their power against them. But the energy beams strike solid armor and dissipate uselessly. There are no shields to drain, no energy to redirect. Confused, the Devourers. Shift tactics. Their phase technology activates, allowing them to pass through solid matter while firing. But Jack anticipated this from studying the battle reports. All ships fire everything. Don't aim, just fill space with metal. The human ships unleash hell. Not elegant energy beams, but thousands of kinetic rounds per second. Solid tungsten slugs, explosive shells, even simple steel balls fired at incredible velocity. The Devourers phase through some projectiles, but their technology can't handle the sheer volume. Rounds slip through phase shifts, finding solid hulls. For the first time in their expansion, Devourer ships take damage. Real, physical damage that their adaptive systems can't simply absorb and redirect. The alien AI attempts to adapt, but how do you counter a chunk of metal flying at relativistic speeds? The Devourer flagship tries to ram the hammer, expecting a primitive human ship to avoid collision. Instead, Jack orders full acceleration toward the enemy. Everyone brace for impact. The collision is catastrophic. The Devourer ship, built for elegance and phase manipulation, crumples against the hammer's reinforced prow. The human ship suffers massive damage. Half the crew dies instantly. Entire sections decompress. Systems fail throughout the vessel. But the hammer keeps fighting. Backup systems activate. Emergency crews seal breaches. Weapons continue firing even as the ship breaks apart around them. This is exactly what human ships were designed for, to keep fighting when everything goes wrong. The surviving Devourers retreat, their AI struggling to process what happened. They had expected to face sophisticated enemies who relied on technology and tactics. Instead, they encountered something unprecedented: warriors who built their ships like clubs and used them accordingly. News of the battle spreads quickly. The Galactic Council receives the reports with disbelief. 3 primitive human ships damaged a Devourer fleet? Impossible. There must be some mistake. But Admiral Blake studies the tactical data with satisfaction. The engagement proved his theory. The Devourer's greatest strength, their ability to adapt to sophisticated technology, became a weakness against crude simplicity. They're like martial artists facing a bar brawler, Blake explains to his staff. They know every elegant technique, every sophisticated counter, but they don't know how to handle someone who just wants to hit them with a chair. The victory comes at a cost. The hammer is destroyed, the anvil crippled, the forge barely spaceworthy. But humanity learned something invaluable. The Devourers can be hurt. Blake issues new orders throughout human space. Every ship, every weapon, every tactic should be as simple and brutal as possible. No sophisticated systems the enemy can turn against them. No elegant solutions they can adapt to overcome. Build them crude, build them tough, build them ready to ram, becomes the new doctrine. Meanwhile, the Devourer fleet regroups and analyzes their defeat. Their AI begins developing counters to kinetic weapons, but the process is slow. They evolved to fight energy-based civilizations, not primitive species that throw rocks very fast. As word spreads, something unexpected happens. The alien species who once mocked humanity's primitive designs begin to reconsider. Maybe there was wisdom in building crude, simple ships that could absorb tremendous punishment and keep fighting. The galaxy's paradigm is about to shift. Asterisk word of humanities. Impossible victory spreads through the galaxy like wildfire. At first, the advanced alien races refused to believe it. 3 primitive human ships couldn't possibly damage the unstoppable Devourers. The reports must be exaggerated or fabricated. But then Commander Vex, leading a joint alien fleet, witnesses humanity's second engagement. Admiral Blake personally commands 12 human vessels against a Devourer battle group twice their size. What Vex sees changes everything he believes about warfare. The human ships don't dance gracefully through space like proper warships. They lumber forward like angry bulldogs, absorbing impossible amounts of damage while continuing to fight. When the flagship CNS Defiance loses its main engines, it uses maneuvering thrusters to ram a Devourer vessel. When the CNS Stubborn's weapons fail, the crew begins firing construction tools and spare parts through the breach. "They're insane," Vex whispers as he watches a human frigate continue fighting with half its hull missing. But the insanity works. The Devourers, expecting sophisticated opponents, struggle against enemies who treat starships like medieval siege weapons. Blake's new doctrine spreads throughout human space. Every vessel becomes a potential ram. Every weapon system includes backup kinetic options. Most importantly, every ship is built to keep crews alive and fighting even after catastrophic damage. The psychological effect on other species is profound. The proud Vorthans, who mocked human engineering 3 years ago, quietly begin reinforcing their own hulls. The elegant Nexari start adding crude backup weapons to their crystalline ships. Even the peaceful Alari ask humanity for defensive designs. It's the hegemony's response that surprises everyone. Commander Vex approaches Admiral Blake with an unprecedented request: teach us to fight like humans. The meeting takes place aboard Blake's flagship, a massive vessel called Endurance that looks more like a flying fortress than a starship. Vex expects to find advanced human technology hidden somewhere, some secret weapon that explains their success. Instead, Blake shows him the ship's armory. Rows of simple projectile weapons, chemical explosives, even old-fashioned steel crowbars for close combat. This is it? Vex asks in disbelief. Sometimes the oldest solutions are the best, Blake replies. Your people spend centuries perfecting energy weapons that can be turned against you. We never stopped using hammers. The turning point comes when a massive Devourer fleet approaches the industrial world of New Geneva. Home to humanity's largest shipyards, the planet represents their entire manufacturing capability. If it falls, human resistance ends. The defending force seems pathetic by galactic standards. 40 human ships, most of them converted cargo haulers and mining vessels. Blake has perhaps 8,000 crew members against a Devourer fleet that destroyed entire sectors. But Blake has advantages the enemy doesn't expect. The converted cargo ships carry thousands of kinetic rounds. The mining vessels have rams designed to break asteroids. Most importantly, every crew member knows they're fighting for humanity's survival. The battle becomes legendary. Human ships charge directly into the Devourer formation, accepting devastating damage to deliver point-blank attacks. When ships are crippled, their crews continue fighting from the wreckage. When weapons fail, they ram. When rams fail, they self-destruct. CNS Determination loses everything: engines, weapons, life support, even most of its hull. But Captain Stone keeps his remaining crew fighting from the bridge, using emergency thrusters to pilot the wreckage into a Devourer flagship. The explosion takes out 3 enemy vessels. For the first time, a Devourer fleet retreats. Not because they're outmatched technologically, but because they can't adapt to an enemy that treats death as just another tactical option. The victory at New Geneva changes everything. Alien species throughout the galaxy realize that sophistication isn't always superior. Sometimes crude determination beats elegant technology. volunteer crews from dozens of species arrive at human shipyards, begging to learn the new way of fighting. Blake establishes training programs, teaching aliens to abandon graceful space combat in favor of brutal effectiveness. The Vorthans prove surprisingly adaptable, their natural aggression suiting human tactics. The Nexari struggle with the concept of ramming, but excel at building crude kinetic weapons. Even the peaceful Alari contribute by designing better armor plating, but it's a young hegemony officer named Kai who truly embraces the human way. After losing his elegant cruiser to Devourer adaptation, he requests transfer to a human-built ugly boat, a crude, angular vessel designed purely for destruction. "I want to learn to fight like them," Kai tells Blake. "No fancy tricks, no sophisticated technology. Just hit the enemy until they stop moving." The galaxy is learning humanity's greatest lesson. Sometimes the most primitive solution is the most effective one. A final battle comes sooner than anyone expects. The Devourer main fleet, containing over 3,000 ships, bypasses all defensive lines and strikes directly at Earth. Their message is clear: eliminate humanity, and their dangerous philosophy dies with them. The assembled defense fleet represents a new kind of military force. Human ships fight alongside converted alien vessels, all built according to the new doctrine. Crude, tough, and designed to keep fighting when everything goes wrong. 500 ships from dozens of species, united by humanity's simple philosophy. Hit hard, hit often. Don't stop until the enemy is dead. Admiral Blake commands from the massive battleship Unconquerable, a vessel so ugly that alien engineers weep at its appearance. But appearances don't matter anymore. What matters is the ship's ability to absorb planet-killing amounts of damage and continue fighting. The Devourers approach with confidence. Their analysis suggests this crude alliance cannot threaten their advanced fleet. They've adapted to kinetic weapons, developed counters to ramming attacks, and improved their phase technology. Victory seems assured, but Blake has one final surprise. During the year since New Geneva, human engineers worked on a single project, building the ultimate crude weapon. Not sophisticated or elegant, just devastatingly effective. All ships, prepare for Operation Sledgehammer, Blake orders. The battle begins with the expected chaos. Human and alien ships charge the Devourer formation, trading massive damage for close-range attacks. Ships die on both sides, but the crude alliance keeps fighting from wreckage and debris. Commander Vex, now captaining a rebuilt hegemony vessel designed like a human warship, rams his cruiser through 3 Devourer ships before his hull finally breaks apart. His last transmission is simple: tell Blake it was an honor to fight like a human. The Nexari contingent, their crystalline ships reinforced with crude armor plating, fights with desperate determination. When their elegant energy weapons fail, they resort to launching chunks of their own crystal hulls as projectiles. But the Devourers are adapting. Their improved technology counters most kinetic attacks. Their enhanced phase systems avoid ramming attempts. Slowly, inevitably, the defense fleet is being destroyed. That's when Blake activates Sledgehammer. Hidden throughout the solar system, disguised as asteroids and debris, are hundreds of the crudest weapons humanity ever built. Massive chunks of metal with simple rocket engines and basic guidance systems. No sophisticated technology to adapt to, no energy signatures to detect. Just enormous hammers flying through space at incredible speeds. The Devourer fleet, focused on the battle, doesn't notice the asteroids beginning to move. By the time their sensors register the threat, it's too late. Hundreds of multi-ton projectiles slam into their formation at velocities that turn starships into vapor. But even Sledgehammer isn't enough. The Devourer flagship, a massive vessel, larger than Earth's moon, survives the bombardment and begins charging a planet-killer weapon. In minutes, Earth will be nothing but cooling rock. Blake makes the only choice possible. All remaining ships ramming speed. Target the flagship. What follows becomes legend. 60 ships from dozens of species, their crews shouting battle cries in 100 languages, charge the Devourer flagship. They know it's suicide. They do it anyway. The Unconquerable leads the charge. Blake's ship, already crippled by earlier fighting, accelerates toward the enemy flagship with everything it has left. Today, we teach them the most important human lesson, Blake announces to his crew. Sometimes winning means everyone dies fighting. The collision is visible from Earth's surface. The Unconquerable, moving at nearly light speed, strikes the Devourer flagship with the force of a small star. The explosion creates a new constellation, briefly outshining the sun. When the light fades, debris fills local space. The Devourer fleet is broken, their flagship destroyed, their survivors fleeing toward dark space. Earth survives, scarred but unbroken. The victory comes at a terrible cost. Blake is gone. Vex is gone. Thousands of the galaxy's bravest warriors died, ramming enemy ships or fighting from wreckage. But their sacrifice teaches the universe something profound. Sometimes crude determination beats sophisticated technology. Sometimes the oldest weapons are the most effective. Sometimes you have to hit the enemy with everything you have and trust that your ship will hold together long enough to get the job done. In the aftermath, memorials rise throughout the galaxy. Not elegant monuments to fallen heroes, but simple stone markers listing names and ships. The epitaph on Blake's memorial captures the new philosophy perfectly. He taught us that the best weapon is often the simplest one, and the best warrior is the one who never stops fighting. The galaxy laughed at humanity's first warships. Now debris fields mark where laughter turned to respect, and crude determination proved stronger than any sophisticated technology the universe could devise.